madre de 3, abuela de 5, compañera. Sus luchas desde los años de 1960 en la ciudad de Nueva York en asuntos de servicios médicos, educativos, derechos de la mujer, la descolonización e independencia para su patria Puerto Rico. Vivió y murió combatiendo los demonios de la colonización, xenofobia, clasismo, sexismo, racismo.
I'm trying to think, especially when I first got involved in the movement. She put her arm around me once, and of course I got all undone behind that, because she was hugging with a sense of sincerity that I wasn't used to from an elder. And she put her arm around me and she said, "Bienvenido a la lucha." And she made me feel like, you're in the right place. You're where you're supposed to be right now. Doña Rosa was involved in the independence movement before she got here, and she had lots of friends in the movement for independence, the MPI. She was the cause of us forming the Vieques Support Campaign. She was a dedicated social worker. She was a community activist. She was very strong and very clear on who she was.
Yo sabía que en Vieques había un grupo de mujeres que se llamaba la Alianza de Mujeres por Vieques. Lo que yo no sabía era cómo hermanarnos las mujeres de Nueva York a las mujeres de Vieques. Y Efi me dijo, pues para adelante. Usted haga lo que sea. Pues lo que sea fue lo que se me ocurrió, hacer un CD, un Civil Disobedience. Lo empezamos entre dos, Esperanza y yo. Y acumulamos un grupo de 8 mujeres, entre ellas Rosy Pérez.
She made sure that her opinions were understood and heard within the different movements, not just the Puerto Rican movement. So her influence grew because of her work, particularly in the South Bronx. I think her contribution was to inspire and be an example to my generation and to generations before that and after that, as soon as she got here, just by being who she was. It challenged me on different levels, as a Puerto Rican, as a man learning to take leadership from an elder woman, because she was the first one that told me and other people my age, you're going to have to fight for your space in the movement, because the older people my age and a little younger don't want to let go of the leadership. We, to a certain extent, have forgotten how valuable our elders are and the role they played. That's one reason I thought it was very important to do this interview, because as one of those people that she came in contact with, that she scolded, that she praised, you know, we need to make sure that in our history of struggle in the diaspora, that our elders and their lives, their lessons, what they meant to us, to our community, doesn't get lost. And leaving that memory, that collective memory of being one of our elders, is her legacy, and something we could share with our children and with the younger generations in the movement.
My name is Sandra Maria Esteves, and I was born in the Bronx. Well, I was raised in that area, but I also shared growing up in the Lower East Side because at the age of 5, I went to a boarding school. I got into boarding school because my mom was a single parent, and one day my cousin came home from school without her panties on. And that freaked my mother out, and nobody had an answer as to how it happened. So my mother decided that I would be safer in a Catholic boarding school. I went into the boarding school Spanish dominant at 5 years old. I was not allowed to speak Spanish. I had to speak English. And if I said the wrong word, I was physically disciplined by the nuns. And I would spend hours repeating words in my mouth, trying to savor them and trying to discern if this was a Spanish word or an English word. And as far as I was concerned, Spanish was beautiful and melodious, and English was very staccato and cold. But sometimes I couldn't tell, you know, and I would be there, I want a glass of agua, water. So I found myself withdrawing into silence because that was always the safer place to be, not speaking at all. By the time I was in the 2nd grade, I used to fill up these those 10-cent notebooks that children have, and I would create a cutout doll and then create the whole elaborate wardrobe for this doll. So these dolls, they had ball gowns and tennis outfits and riding outfits and all the accessories to accompany them, all the things that we didn't have. And I decided at the age of 7 that I was going to become an artist. I pursued my interest in visual arts into college and became an art student at Pratt Institute. And all that time, I was very safe in my silent place. Language was daunting for me. Speaking was daunting. In my sculpture class, I had this teacher named Toshio Odata. It's part of empowering. If I had a magic wand and I could create a future for all of us, it would be a future where we are all equal partners in the creation and maintenance of our society. In a world that is safe, that is not doing damage to the earth or to any living creatures, that we are able to find a way to coexist.
I started to kind of develop into more of an adult in high school and in college. I think that was the first time where I had that aha moment, and you kind of start to realize like everything that you've ever been taught in high school was inaccurate historically. You really start to learn the truth, and I think that's when I first started starving for knowledge, I guess, about myself, about my culture, about my history. The first real time where I was like really in control and took some action, it was during the DREAM Act. The DREAM Act movements were happening, and one of my best friends in college was actually undocumented. And the first time I went out there, it was like 7 of us. We were in the middle of the campus. We did a freeze-in. We were holding up this big sign that says undocumented and unafraid. And after that, I didn't go back. I got involved with Sandy just on my own. Actually, it was me and my mom. We were constantly looking at the news, seeing that nothing was being done. Money was being donated to several organizations, and somehow that flow wasn't being given to the people. So I decided to turn my house into a canned food drive where my entire building and neighbors were able to donate. They brought in a lot of supplies. I was very surprised, and it was very humbling to see that poor people help other poor people. And that's always been the case.